Hi, I'm Jennifer Carroll from CelebratingEverydayLife.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make beautiful and easy paper zinnia flowers. To make these beautiful paper flowers, I used my Cricut cutting machine, but don't worry if you don't have a Cricut or other cutting machine. I will provide you with a template that's in a PDF version that you can make as well, so never fear. But my Cricut makes this so easy, and it made it so much easier to churn out a whole bouquet of these zinnias, so I do highly recommend using a Cricut if you can. So I will be using my Cricut Maker today, but you can do this same project with a Cricut Air Explorer 1 or 2. And when using your Cricut, you'll need your standard cutting mat, and you'll also need a knife blade. And of course, you're going to need my template, which is free for subscribers to my weekly newsletter. It's available to you in my free resource library. It's under Paper Flowers, and it's called Zinnia Flower. So you can get that up on my website, CelebratingEverydayLife.com. And then you're going to need some plain paper. Now, one of the reasons I love this so much is because it's made with just plain paper. This is no specialty papers. This is stuff you probably already have at home. So you can use white text weight or copy paper, as it's sometimes called. And if you do, I am going to show you one that I hand colored. Or you can also use just your favorite colored paper. Again, just make sure that you're using text weight and not cardstock. We don't want the thickness of cardstock for this project. In addition to the paper, you're going to need some soft pastels and a rag for applying that. You're going to need a glue gun. You're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need some tools for curling and adding dimension to the leaves and the petals. And for that, you could use just a paintbrush or just a thin tool like this that, even a pencil, something like that. You just want to use the base of it, and you'll see how in the video. And the ball stylus, I love this tool. It's so helpful. So I'll be using that as well. And you'll need some pliers for curling and working with your floral gauge wire. The floral gauge wire that I'm using for this project is an 18 gauge wire. And you'll also need some kind of straw or silicone sleeve if you want to make your stems thicker to make it look even more realistic. Gather whatever paper colors you choose to use for your flowers, and let's get started. Okay, the first thing that you need to do is go to my blog, CelebratingEverydayLife.com, and this is how you are going to get access to the free Zinnia template that I'm going to be using in today's craft. So if you are not already a subscriber to my blog, what you want to do is go to CelebratingEverydayLife.com and click this Free Printables tab right here at the top. And this is going to take you to a page to sign up, and you can fill out your name and email address. That's all you need, and that's going to have you get my weekly newsletter as well as access to my entire free resource library, which is jam-packed full of amazing templates like the ones that you see here and many more. So sign up for that. You will immediately receive an email that is going to have the password and the link for the free resource library for you. So if you click the link in that email and complete the password, you'll go in there. You can download the Zinnia flower template. It's under Paper Flowers. And you'll also be able to choose either the SVG file or the PDF. If you're using the Cricut machine, as I am, make sure you get the SVG file. But there is a PDF for my brave crafting friends who want to make this and cut the flowers out by hand. So that's there as well. Just make sure you choose the right one. And then we're going to head over to Cricut Design Space. And once you're in Design Space, you want to click New Project. And we're going to upload the Zinnia file that you just downloaded. And you can navigate to where that is, and you can just drag it right there or navigate to it on your computer, whichever you prefer. And it's right here. Click Save. And we're going to click this and click Insert Image. Now, the Zinnia file is going to show up, and you're going to notice it is all grouped together. So the very first thing that we want to do is we want to come over here to the right, and we want to click Ungroup. So I'm just going to drag my mouse over here to the right, click Ungroup. And this is now going to let me individually click on items. See, they're no longer one big box. And so now if you want to, you can, move things around, whatever you'd like to do. This next thing that we need to do, which is extremely important, if you want to print the leaves to go with your flowers, please note that these lines right now, they're solid lines. And so the Cricut would think it needs to cut these lines. And if you look up here on the top left, it's saying line type, and you'll see that cut is selected. But these are actually meant to be scored. So we want to click that, and we want to click score. We want to select score. And you'll note that now these lines are dashed. They're not solid. So go ahead and click this next one. And same thing, we're going to select score, and they're both scored. But if you were just to go click make it right now, it would separate these. So we need to be sure to attach them. And you can go ahead and just do that all at once. And so I just clicked and dragged, highlighted both the leaves and the lines. And you'll notice over here that the scoring leaves, it says score for those lines, and the leaves, these are a little bit darker. These are grayed out, they're lighter. These are darker. And what we want to do is we want to come down here to the bottom of this right-hand menu, and we want to click attach. And that is going to put these guys all together. See how they're now all together? Before they were spaced out? They're all together now. But if you're like me and you want to print the flowers on one page, you want to cut the flowers on one paper, and then you're going to do this on a different one, what I'm actually going to do is take this group, highlight these four, I'm going to make them a group, and I'm going to, if you come over here on the right side, there's this little eye icon, and if you click that eyeball, it makes this go away. So now the only thing that is active on my canvas here, my workspace, are the flowers. And so now I can just leave these four. I'm going to need 3 sets of them, but I can leave these 4 here. Click make it. And then here in project copies, I can choose 3 copies and press apply. And so the only thing I need to change here is that I happen to be using 8.5 by 11 paper. So instead of 12 by 12, I'm going to click this, and I'm going to choose my 8.5 by 11 letter size paper. And the reason I changed my project copies first is because whenever you change this, it's automatically going to default your mat to a 12 by 12. So go ahead and change that first, and then click your letter. Okay, so we've got our 3 copies on our 8.5 by 11 paper, and this is enough to make 1 flower. If you wanted to make more, you could, keep going. Just remember that you're going to need 3 of each size for your flower, for 1 flower. So, just print as many as you need on whatever color paper, and cut as many as you need on whatever color paper you choose. Click continue, and it's going to connect to your machine. So you want to load your paper on the mat and run it through the machine. Once you've either cut out the template with your Cricut machine, or you've downloaded the PDF and hand cut all of your shapes, this is what you should have. There are 4 different sizes of blooms that I've included in my template. And the great thing about using something like the Cricut is that it is going to it's going to do all of this hard work for you. And for each of these flowers, there are 4 different size blooms, and you're going to need 3 of each size. And you'll notice in the template that I've given you that I've done the hard work for you. I've given the petals a unique shape. I've even included a little hole in the center of the petal to make threading onto your floral wire even easier for you. So you will have, as I said, 4 bloom shapes, and then if you decide that you do want to add leaves, you can print out. I've included some leaf patterns. I've also included the base for the back of the flower and the fringe as well. I've chosen to do red for my flowers on this one, and I've chosen a dark green for the leaves and the base. And for the center, I've used a yellow plain paper. Now, again, you could totally do this with all white paper if you want. Let me put my glasses on so I can see. And you could color these leaves. Here's one that's white that I had cut out as a sample. And then here is one that is all done on white paper that I have colored with the pastels. So you can create really beautiful colors, a very soft look by using just plain white paper and coloring it with the pastels if you choose to. So if you're anxious to get started with this project and you don't have all the different color papers and maybe you don't want to buy a bunch of different color papers, you could absolutely use some pastels and make it gorgeous without that. I do want to add some, I don't want both pieces of my center to be plain yellow. I want to add some color. So to do that, I am going to use these soft pastels. Now please note, this is going to get your hands dirty. If you, it's just chalk, so it will wash off, it won't hurt you, but if you would rather keep your hands and your area a little more clean, you might want to use some gloves. I'm not going to use gloves, but I am going to use a hard plastic clipboard as my base for brushing on because it's going to keep all the chalk dust on there. So we want to just take a piece of the pastel and a rag, any kind of rag will do. Okay, and when you're working with pastels, the more layers, like if you keep going and adding more, the color will intensify. So it's kind of light at first and you can keep building on it the more that you keep going back to the pastel and getting it on your rag and rubbing it on. That's this piece ready. Now with the flowers that I've made here, one thing that I decided to do was to, on the center pieces, I decided to enhance those a little bit, to darken, to deepen the color using the pastels. And that is part of what really makes these zinnias look extra special, in my opinion, because a lot of times when you look at the flower, the color might be more intense at the center, and then, kind of ombre out a little bit, lighten out. And so a great way to achieve that, again, without having to buy lots of different colored papers and things like that, is to simply buy one pastel color kit and use the colors that are in there to enhance what you already have. So again, I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick a color, and like I said, I want to just pick something that is a little bit darker than the color that I have. Okay, the next step is to go ahead and start curling our petals back. So to do this, we want to have just any kind of tool, like I said, a paintbrush, an artist paintbrush would work, anything like that. You just want something that you're able to curl the leaves over. So we want to take our petal and we want to lay it on the brush and just curl it around the edge, just like that. And see how we now have a curled leaf? Okay, now we've got all of our petals curled. Make sure after you've curled the one with the chalk that you wipe wipe off your stylus or whatever you've used for curling, just so that you don't transfer the chalk onto anything else. And give your hands a quick wipe. Make sure there's no chalk residue there that's going to get on anything else. And again, I just want to remind you, the chalk with the pastels, this is totally an optional step, but I really have found that it really does enhance, kind of takes the flower a little bit to the next level. So it's not something you have to do, but it is something that I do think really, really adds a nice subtle accent. And it's also something that on the lighter colors, you really do see the accent even more. But let's keep going. Okay, so now we've got our leaves, and again, these are, my machine has already scored them for me, and I've included that in there in the template for you. But if you are not scoring with the machine, you want to just, you're looking to add 3 lines here. A zinnia leaf in real life has kind of 3 main veins. So you want to fold it kind of down the center lengthwise, and then fold the sides in a little as well. And then I still like to just take my leaf and wrap it around this, because, I think everything looks better with some dimension. And so, you want to be gentle, but you don't have to be super gentle with these. So, curl it around, give it a little bit of movement and life, try it, curling it in different ways to see, kind of what look you like. But do add some dimension, do bend them up a little bit, because you don't want them just looking like a paper leaf. We want to add some dimension. Okay, so we've given those some shape. And now we're ready for the next step. Now, bending the flower petals back is step 1 of adding dimension to your petals. But what really takes them and makes them fabulous and so easy to work with is to take a ball stylus like this. Now, all I have here is I've just made a little mat, because you do need something soft to push into when you're working with this. I've made a mat just out of some felt pieces from my local Walmart. So very inexpensive, very easy to do. But I also, if you are like sitting watching TV while making the flowers, or doing something like that, you also can use the palm of your hand, which I've done many times as well. So you want to make sure, the important details here are to make sure that your petals are pointing down. With the zinnia like this, it's important that the petals are pointing down, and then we're going to place the stylus in the center, just like that. So if you're on your hand, it's going to be just like this, and you're going to just swirl this around, and it's going to start forming a cup shape, which is glorious. It's just magical. And so that's one done. Then I'm also going to take the base, and I'm going to roll that as well, just to soften that, because we don't want it to be flat at the bottom. We want it to cup the flower, just like that. So I hope you can really see already what a difference. We've gone from a flat, boring flower template to now we are starting to get a beautiful curved flower shape. So these steps really do make such a big difference. Okay, now we're ready to begin assembling our flower. We're going to take a piece of wire, and we're going to take a pair of pliers. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to put the pliers on the end of the wire, and we're going to curl it and just into a little hook, just like that, because this is going to give our flower center something to grab onto with the glue. So what we want to do is we want to take our glue, and we want to add just a little dot of glue to the end of this darker piece, this piece that we colored with the pastel, and we're going to press our wire into that glue dot, just like that. And then we're going to gently curl this over. And it's okay, you can leave your little fringe pieces up. You do want to make sure that those are up and that the solid piece is down, but you don't have to worry about scrunching them up just yet. So we're going to then add a little more glue down here to the lip. Be careful you don't get glue on your fringe pieces, because you do want to make sure that this is going to fringe out for you. So wrap that around. And now we've gotten our first piece on. Now we want to put the center outer layer, which is the just plain yellow one. Now you can take and you can kind of press this and spread it out a little, muss it up, bend the pieces. You know, we're not looking for perfection here, so we can kind of get in there, pinch it up a little, muss it around like that. And now we're ready to add our next pieces. So what I like to do is actually flip this upside down, and as I'm working with them, I like to go ahead and thread my petals onto the wire, but I don't let them drop all the way to the bottom. If you've worked with hot glue before, you know it can set up pretty quickly, and so we want to take maximum advantage of that, of the glue, and so I like to have it already on there, so as soon as I put the glue in, I can put the flower in place. So I'm going to add some glue here to the base, and then just be careful that my petals don't touch the center. Slide it right on there, and there we go. You can flip it over and look, make sure it's kind of how and where you want it. And then we're going to repeat with the next ones. Now, when I'm adding my next petals, I am trying to make sure that the petals are lined up, not lined up exactly. I want them slightly askew so that it will add dimension to the petals. If they were all just lined up in the same row, you would really miss the beauty of all the different petals. That's our last one. So if you have any little glue trails, just pull those right off. Now, you'll notice that your flowers kind of level. And what I want to encourage you to do is hold the flower against the base so that it doesn't come off. But then take your hand, and it's okay, be gentle, but go ahead and start crunching the flower a little bit to give it that more rounded down shape. It's why we bent the petals down. We want it to naturally start doing that, and just fluff your leaves a little bit. Looking so much better. All right, now we have this. We're going to, you could totally stop here if you're just making a bouquet to like have at your house. You could be done. But if you would like to make the flower more finished, especially if this is something that perhaps you're giving to someone as a gift, I'm going to show you the steps for going ahead and finishing it off. So we want to add the base of the green of the stem. And so that we're going to do in the exact same way that we just did our petals. You want to make sure that your flower base is pointing, the curl is pointing towards the flower, not up. So thread that on there, and then we're going to add some glue to the center here. and just press this onto our flower just so. Because then if you do see it from underneath, you're gonna see the little green part like you would in a real flower. You'll notice when you are using a wire gauge like this that while this is super handy, it's not as thick as an actual flower stem. And you can get silicone sleeves on like Amazon. I will share a link to that. But you can also use straws that you probably already have at home. I have some straws that I get that are a little bit on the thinner side because thinner is a little bit better, I think, with this project. And so you can use those, and we're going to use that to help build our base to make the stem look a little more realistic. So we're going to slide that right onto the flower, add a little more glue here to the base, and slide our straw right onto that glue. We're going to take our floral tape and cover the straw. Now, floral tape, if you've not worked with it before, when you get it, it's not just sticky on its own. You need to stretch it to activate the glue. And once you do the stretching, it should activate. Now, I like to add just a little bit of glue. I'm going to use this little bit of glue here because I want to extra ensure that it's going to stick. So I'm going to wrap that on just like that. Add this. I think my glue dried. Okay. So pinch that on there and then just begin wrapping. And you can see how it's starting to get thick like an actual flower stem. Now, if you decide that you would like to add some leaves to your zinnia plant, your zinnia bloom, zinnias don't have leaves right up near. If you look at them in nature, they tend to, they have leaves down lower. So let me show you a really quick tip for adding a leaf to your bloom. So we're going to take a piece of wire gauge that I've cut to about 5-6 inches. And we want to take to the back of this and we're going to add a little line of glue and lay that right in there and just let that set up. Now, again, if this is something that you're giving to someone else and maybe you want to have it look extra finished, you could cut extras of the leaves. And then what I would recommend that you do is that you take a second leaf and you lay it right over top, glue them together, and that will sandwich your wire inside so that no one will be able to see the wire. And we're just going to let that set, and then we're going to kind of bend it a little bit. All right, so we've got it like that. And now we can we're going to take a little bit of glue right here on our straw. And we are going to press this leaf in right here and continue wrapping. And so we're going to have the glue and the tape, the floral tape, helping hold our leaf in place. And then you can just use a pair of wire cutters to cut off the extra and a pair of scissors. And I like to add a little bit of glue to the bottom. And there we have a beautiful zinnia that you have made. The straw isn't that such a great trick? Doesn't it really make it look so much more real? I mean, like here's one with just the wire stem, and it just doesn't have that same sense of reality that suddenly you get when you add the floral tape and the straw and you give it a little bit of body like that. And again, remember, you can, these are pretty adorable. You can crunch them and play with them. You can make them in a whole rainbow of colors. anything that you imagine. You can draw from real life, or you can have lots of fun and make your own Dr. Seuss garden of zinnias. But I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please be sure to visit my blog, celebratingeverydaylife.com. Make sure you sign up to get my weekly newsletter, and you will also get the free template for these zinnias, which you see how easy it was to do because I did the hard work for you. And you will also have access to just tons of other free printables and SVG files that I have available to all of my subscribers in the free resource library. So again, thank you so much for watching. Please click the subscribe button so you don't miss any future tutorials, because I'm constantly making new things. And if you have a project, a flower, a craft idea, something you would like to see me make, please leave a comment. I would love to help you handcraft a life you love. Thanks for watching.